those characters that people were really drawn to because it was just so different.
Rest in peace.
Mark's upbringing was relatively typical. People often wonder what led him to take the unusual path of digging holes and collecting souls, but there was no specific reason. His parents were hardworking individuals.
My mom was a stay-at-home mom, raised 5 boys, bless her heart. My dad, hard worker. I think he instilled that work ethic in me.
Mark's father worked nights at the Houston Post's press room. From a young age, Mark learned the importance of respect, diligence, and integrity, which became integral to his character.
And those things were instilled in me at a really early age.
Growing up in Houston, Mark developed a passion for wrestling. Despite financial constraints, his parents occasionally managed to take him to the Houston Coliseum to watch live matches. The original Sheik was making appearances, and as basketball's popularity decreased, Mark found himself increasingly drawn to wrestling. He began to contemplate whether he wanted to be a basketball benchwarmer in a distant league like Lithuania. Instead, he immersed himself in wrestling.
And now I'm watching wrestling, and I'm studying wrestling. The more I thought about it, it was like, well, maybe, this would be kind of cool. And like I said, I was a fan as a kid. I'm going to be a professional wrestler. Things were rough, but I knew that this is what I wanted to do.
The more he considered it, the more he realized that pursuing a career in professional wrestling was his true calling. Despite facing hardships and not having a stable living situation, these challenges only strengthened his resolve. During his time in WCW, Mark noticed Dan Spivey and Sid Vicious as the Skyscrapers tag team. When Sid suffered an injury, a broken rib, and punctured lung, there were few wrestlers who could match their towering height and physique. Jim Cornette recognized Mark's potential and told them about a promising talent in Tennessee who could replace Sid. This marked the start of Mark's journey in a major promotion, fitting the mold perfectly for what they envisioned as a skyscraper. He proved himself as a valuable asset. He was a natural leader,
Mark was a natural leader, was a man's man, great athlete. Anyone, I don't care if you're 4'9", that can walk the top rope the way that he did and drop an elbow, let alone someone his size.
When it came time to discuss his contract renewal, he was content with his time in WCW. However, upon meeting with Ole Anderson, who was in charge of bookings at the time, Mark was disappointed to receive an offer identical to his previous deal. He had hoped for a slight increase, but Ole bluntly stated, "Mark, you're an incredible athlete, but no one is going to pay to see you wrestle."
Wow. Okay. I was really taken back. Like, how do you react to that? Like, this is like the passion of my life, and then here's somebody of Ole Anderson's stature, someone that you've looked up to, basically telling you that you ain't got it.
And Ole told me that big red-headed stepchild will never draw any money.
Paul Heyman had a contract with WCW, but he ultimately chose to breach that agreement.
Mark wanted out, and I had a conversation with Bruce Pritchard.
Paul said, "Hey, Mark's contract is coming up. Are you guys interested?" And I was very interested. I wanted to talk to him.
In a covert move, WWE arranged for a meeting between Mark and Vince McMahon. This meeting was set for the day following a WCW pay-per-view event where Mark faced Lex Luger. Although Bruce Pritchard recognized Mark's potential, Vince watched the match and was unimpressed, dismissing him as just another tall, red-haired basketball player. He instructed Bruce to cancel the meeting. Despite not knowing Mark well, Bruce sensed something special about him, an opportunity that could be tapped into.
Finally, Vince took a meeting with him. It was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting, ended up going 4 hours.
Vince really fell in love with the human being, Mark Calaway, instantly, and our creative services department came up with some different sketches and different ideas as to what would this character look like.
Different character concepts were explored, one of which closely resembled the classic Undertaker persona.
At the time, nobody had any idea how this Undertaker gimmick was going to get over. I mean, I don't think anybody, I don't even know if Vince envisioned just how big the Undertaker would get.
Weighing in at
20. The entrance was unbelievable. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, well, wow.
Nasty look. Look at that. Just looking to hurt people, are you?
The atmosphere during this presentation was electric. The audience was captivated, whispering in awe as this intriguing character made his entrance. It was a moment where Vince McMahon's grand vision came to life, something WCW had missed out on due to their lack of creativity. Mark was determined to make this work. Having already tasted failure in WCW, he wasn't going to let himself or WWE down again.
Like, I always knew I had a fairly long tongue, and I remember Gene Simmons from Kiss, you know, and he would do that. So that I probably stole from Gene Simmons, but obviously became kind of an iconic part of my pen combination. When you first start with WWE, you have to have your signature finisher.
When starting with WWE, having a signature finishing move is crucial. Mark developed the inverted pile driver, which some liken to placing a tombstone on a grave. Thus, the tombstone pile driver was born.
Tombstone City!
Crossing the arms, the tongue, and the eye roll, which we dubbed as Shakespeare.
Over time, this became iconic. With his signature move came the memorable theatrics, crossing his arms, rolling his eyes, and sticking out his tongue, which the producers affectionately referred to as Shakespeare.
Take a look at the Undertaker. Does he look like he has any friends? Does he look like he needs any friends to win?
Take.
Brother Bearer, what is your first name?
In my opinion, Paul Bearer was a far superior manager for The Undertaker compared to Brother Love.
Did you feel the presence of my Undertaker?
The dynamic between Paul and The Undertaker was captivating. Paul's high-pitched, eerie voice contrasted perfectly with The Undertaker's deep, slow drawl as he delivered his iconic
There on the inside.
And then you had the Grim Reaper come in with the rest in peace, and it was low and slow.
Rest in peace.
The Undertaker's sheer dominance in the ring necessitated an equally formidable opponent. His backstory is rich, including the tragic belief that his family perished in a fire, along with his younger brother, only to later discover that his brother had survived all along.
Burned from head to toe, disfigured. It's right up there with Austin McMahon. I think it's either number one or number two of the greatest storylines that has ever been.
I vividly recall during the late 90s when fans would send him vials containing their own blood. They would bring strange gifts backstage, like vials of blood or even tattoos of him inked on their bodies, items that might have raised eyebrows if seen in any other context.
The Undertaker mistake is legit. You know, when you stand out there and that purple haze would come up and the lighters would go up, you know, like the old Grateful Dead concert.
And I'll never forget watching The Undertaker come out. And I thought to myself for a second, I was like, oh my God, that's The Undertaker.
It's overwhelming in a wonderful way. You're just sitting there thinking, this is cool. This is cool. He's coming after me. This is cool.
Experiencing wrestling alongside The Undertaker was truly unique. You couldn't help but feel honored to share the ring with him, yet you had to convince yourself that you deserved to be there.
And then you just have to convince yourself that you belong.
Mick Foley found his niche by embracing extreme violence. And their rivalry explored various dimensions until culminating in the unforgettable Hell in a Cell match.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you take a look at this apparatus, one would have to imagine that it was conceived in hell.
When you looked at that structure, it was as if it was designed in the depths of hell itself.
So,
To this day, it's hard for me to have a conversation with anybody, any fan, that they don't bring up, Hell in the Cell with Mick Foley.
When Mark first adopted the Undertaker persona, it felt as though Mark Calaway and the Undertaker were one and the same. Mark transformed into the Undertaker so completely that Mark Calaway almost vanished.
Mark Calaway became the Undertaker, so it wasn't about getting in or out of character. You didn't get to see much Mark Calaway at all. Mark Calaway didn't exist.
Saw him in an airport. It wasn't the costume, but there was no denying that was the Undertaker.
He would show up as the Undertaker, limiting his public appearances outside of that character. Even in casual settings like airports, his long hair, black sunglasses, and all-black attire made it clear he was the Undertaker. He chose to embody that persona fully, presenting a toned-down version of himself while still being unmistakably the Undertaker.
I didn't really let a lot of people in, other than my close inner circle of people.
In the wrestling world, he seemed to have all the answers. However, his personal life was a different story. It had its fair share of challenges. Being a star in this industry is tough. There's no denying that. The demands of the road often meant sacrificing time with loved ones. His oldest son, Gunnar, likely felt the impact of that lifestyle the most.
I missed out on so much of those early years with him because I was pursuing this dream. It's just hard to be that guy on the road and then come home and try and be dad. It was the hardest, I think, with my oldest son, Gunnar. I think he got the worst end of the deal.
It wasn't for lack of love. Mark cherished his time at home with his daughters. Unfortunately, he couldn't always be there as much as he wished. Fortunately, he has been blessed with a second chance to spend time with his younger children, Kaya and Colt.
I consider myself really lucky to have another opportunity to be a parent.
Mark made the Undertaker character work over the years because he evolved it and made it change in a way that I don't know that anybody else could have done it.
Well, here we
Mark Calaway, known as The Undertaker, embodies the essence of a tough, motorcycle-riding, jeans-wearing badass. This transformation into the American badass marked a significant shift from the persona fans had come to know.
And instead of evolving the American badass, you go back to the familiar. You go back to your roots, go back to your origins of The Undertaker.
I mean, the roots of the character were always the same, but it was just the presentation, and that was just my way of evolving and trying to evolve with the audience.
The Phenom is back! The return of the dead man, American Badass! There he is! The Prince of Darkness!
WrestleMania, often referred to as the showcase of the immortals, is Vince McMahon's way of signaling that you're doing something right. Being part of that event means you'll be remembered forever. I recall a moment on the road to WrestleMania when Michael Hayes pointed out that The Undertaker was undefeated at the event.
It's like,
hey, Undertaker's undefeated at WrestleMania.
Like, really?
Well, we need to do something with this and make this something.
I don't think I was really aware of it until my 10th. That's the first time that I really acknowledged it. Yeah, after I pin Flair and I do the finger thing where I count them all off of my hands.
Okay.
Who could possibly defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania? From there, it grew exponentially over the next 11 years.
Bigger and bigger and bigger for the next 11 years.
He is 12-0 at WrestleManias, an unparalleled record for the dead man. 14-0.
The fact that this streak became a phenomenon speaks volumes about Mark's dedication and his remarkable ability to perform at the highest level on such a grand stage.
There were spots you want to be in
every performer wants to shine,
you want to be in a
whether
championship
it's
match.
in a championship match, the
event.
main event, or facing The Undertaker for his legendary streak.
I don't think there's 4 matches back-to-back that are any better than the 2 that I had with Shawn, followed with the 2 that I had with Triple H.
Real life friendship between the 3. And the rivalry between the 3 also was absolutely legendary.
It would have been great to retire undefeated at WrestleMania. It would have been something that no one would have ever been able to beat.
For a long time, it seemed unimaginable that anyone could break this streak. However, every performer eventually faces the reality of their limitations. It was time for Brock Lesnar to take the torch.
She's been phenomenal in the sense that she understands what being the Undertaker means to me.
Mark recognized that he could no longer meet the expectations placed upon him. Coming to terms with that was a pivotal moment for him.
I can't perform at a level that people expect for me to perform at. And that reality really hit me that I was done.
How long did Stone Cold Steve Austin's run at the very top last? 2.5, 3 years? How about Dwayne Johnson's? John Cena got a decade and a half? 30 years! 30 years! As a top attraction, as a legend. The enormity of that longevity can never be understated.
The significance of his lengthy career cannot be overstated. Initially, Vince thought he would need to persuade Mark to accept a spot in the Hall of Fame, but surprisingly, The Undertaker was more than ready. He had one condition. Vince McMahon had to handle his induction.
Other than my father, he's probably been the most influential man in my life.
This man is the most revered superstar in WWE history. The greatest quality our inductee brings to the Hall of Fame is love.
You know, I don't know where I would be or what I would be without Vince.
The newest member of the 2022 Hall of Fame, Mark Calaway, The Undertaker.
And when that dong hits, everyone knows. Everyone knows who it is, and everyone stands up. And everyone catches their breath. I'm about to see The Undertaker. In terms of all-time characters?
To this day, I maintain that The Undertaker is the most iconic character in professional wrestling history. The longevity of both his streak and his persona is unmatched. I truly believe that The Undertaker's legacy will never fade away. This character could enter the ring using a walker, and the crowd would still rise to their feet in applause. The connection is that powerful. Fans just want to witness The Undertaker in action.
Being inducted into the Hall of Fame was just the icing on the cake of just an incredible 30-plus year journey. None of that happens without, you know, those humble beginnings, waiting for somebody to talk to me at the Sportatorium.
Perception is reality. Respect and loyalty go a long way. And no matter what, never be content. But now that The Undertaker has entered the WWE Hall of Fame, that I will rest in peace. Thank you.